Alice LaViolette was one of the witnesses many trial watchers love to hate. You remember her testifying for the defense. She told the jury that Jodi Arias was a victim of domestic violence, and we remember her best for going toe-to-toe with prosecutor Juan Martinez.
Are you saying that Mr. Alexander, when he was speaking with the defendant, was in the same relationship as you were with the defendant when you were speaking to her?
If you were in my group, I would ask you to take a time out, Mr. Martinez.
Oh, well, moments like that we're not going to see in this next penalty phase with Alice LaViolette, because today we're seeing a different side of her. She already says she won't testify on Jodi's behalf anymore, and she explains in this heartbreaking interview with our Ted Rollins.
I hadn't thought about it for a while.
Wiping away tears, domestic violence expert Alice LaViolette talks about the hate she received after testifying for Jodi Arias.
It's very sad for me. I think, people were surprised I wasn't angry. And I really wasn't. I was so sad that people were filled with such hatred for somebody they didn't know. And I'm talking about Jodi, not just me.
My name is Alice LaViolette.
LaViolette spent nearly 3 weeks on the stand telling jurors she thought Jodi Arias was the victim of domestic violence. After a few days, she says the attacks began on social media and with nasty emails and voice messages.
I hope you choke on a chicken bone, you fat bastard. I hope you get hit in the face with a baseball bat. 98% of America hates you and hopes you die.
She also received several death threats.
I know where your office is. And if Jodi Arias doesn't get the death penalty or life without, you will get the death penalty, make no mistake.
As her testimony continued, so did the attacks. An online petition was started to get her fired from a scheduled speaking engagement. Plus, people wrote horrible reviews about her book on Amazon. It got so bad that halfway through her testimony, she had an anxiety attack.
I woke up and I was crying and I was shaking, and I'm not like that. I mean, I have never had anxiety in my life.
In the end, LaViolette was successful in convincing some jurors, including the jury foreman, that Jodi Arias was a victim of abuse, which resulted in a hung jury for the death penalty phase. But LaViolette says she is not going back for the retrial.
Why don't you want to go back?
Threats to my life, threats to my family. My family doesn't want me to go back.
Patricia Womack, a friend of Jodi Arias, backed out of testifying after receiving the same types of threats, according to the Arias defense team. Now they say they're having problems getting witnesses for the retrial.
Guilty.
Jodi Arias was found guilty of first-degree murder. Her retrial will determine whether she gets the death penalty or life in prison. At this point, it's unclear who, if anyone, will be willing to testify on her behalf.
Ted Rollins back with us from Phoenix, along with HLN legal contributor Joey Jackson. So, Ted, what's her life been like? She's mentioning these emails, these threats. Has she been able to get back to her practice, or has this changed fundamentally her life?
Well, yes and no. She has gotten back to her practice and her speaking engagement. She says her patients, her clients have been very supportive. I asked her, well, now that the dust has settled, do you kind of get that it was just, people in their underwear on their computer saying horrible things? And she said, yes and no. I'm still fearful, and more importantly, my family is still fearful. That's why she says she's not coming back here. She's not going to put them through that.
Did she talk at all about what she expected might happen here? Because the issue a lot of people take with her is that she was able to build a diagnosis off of what only Jodi Arias told her, even though Jodi Arias' story was so suspect.
Well, that's two prongs there. Did she expect this kind of backlash? No. She says she heard that Samuels was eviscerated by Juan Martinez, but she had no idea what was coming. In fact, after direct, she said she felt pretty good. And then the cross started, and wham. As for her clinical impressions of the case, she still believes that Jodi was a victim of domestic violence. She says that this is not just interviewing Jodi many times, but also what she says is that corroborating evidence, the emails, the voicemails, the journal entries. She says the whole picture to her says that she was a victim of domestic violence, and she says she has no problem with people disagreeing with her. It's that it got out of hand.
Yeah, I can understand that. Joey Jackson, the other side of this is, Ted mentioned in his piece, and it's a really interesting factor here, that the defense is having trouble getting witnesses. So do you see, if they proceed to this penalty phase and they start talking about how they have trouble getting witnesses, is that right there an appealable issue if, in fact, she's given the death penalty?
You know, it depends. It's predicated upon how they're having the difficulty in getting them. Are they having difficulty, Ryan, because people are not going to come and test the lie on her behalf? I'm not suggesting that other people did do that, but the point becomes, are witnesses going to support Jodi Arias' theory? Are they going to be able to say that she has redeeming qualities? Are they going to be able to say that they related to her when she was younger and she was just this wonderful person? Or would they be subjecting themselves to perjury? So it depends upon the nature and extent to which the defense has trouble getting witnesses. If the defense could establish that getting those witnesses is connected to televising the case and moving forward in that way, I think it gives the defense an argument to get cameras out of the courtroom and then would certainly give grounds to appeal. But I think Ted did a wonderful job in that interview. It's very, nice to watch it. I'm saddened that people would resort to intimidation and threats, which we have to reject in all costs. I mean, it's terrible that witnesses should be treated like that. At the same time, that, again, with threats being out of the question and off the table, at the same time, you could see why people would be so livid because they felt, as you mentioned, Ryan, in opening this up, that she was taking sides in a story that was suspect and just made no sense.